Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective Podcast.
Welcome to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm your host, Mark Billingsley, Chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners. My hope is that the Chairman's Perspective provides useful information about your Shelby County government and the people, organizations, and programs that make our community unique. I'm really excited to have Jen Andrews, CEO of the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy, the biggest urban park in America, on the show today. You won't want to miss any part of the show. We'll be right back on the Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Inside 901.
Inside 901. I am your host, Lieutenant Anthony Buckner. Here on Inside 901, we will unpack the vision of Shelby County Sheriff Floyd Bonner and the various divisions of the Shelby County Sheriff's Office.
We have a racial profiling policy at the Sheriff's Office. We are here to it. We expect our officers to adhere to it.
Uniform patrol that provide police services to unincorporated Shelby County.
Inside 901.
KUDZUKIAN! The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
I am super excited to be with Jen Andrews, the CEO of the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. Jen is a friend, a community leader. I've had the pleasure of serving on the board of directors for the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. Jen, you were hired in 2006 as the first employee, then called the Shelby Farms Park Alliance, and rose to become the director of development. You led communications. You worked with other philanthropists to develop the park's brand and leading the organization on a $70 million capital campaign. And now, a decade later, at the young age of 32 years old, became Shelby Farms Park's real leader. And it is such a pleasure to be with you today. It's such a community asset. Describe it, because when you think about, and I'm not trying to pick on your age, but you're a young leader and you have done so much in such a short period of time. How has your personal growth developed as you've really grown through Shelby Farms?
Well, you know, I took over at 32 years old as CEO, but I'm now at the ripe old age of 36.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm
real
seasoned.
Old.
You know, this is not the work I expected to do.
Right.
I took the job in 2006, 2 weeks after graduating from Rhodes College. I studied literature. I thought I would be in the world of academia as a literary critic, and I got involved at Shelby Farms Park, and I wanted to do something community focused, as I was taking a couple of years before graduate school, needed to earn some money to pay for it. And once I got involved, I recognized pretty quickly that it's special work, because the harder you work and the more you commit, the better the results are, and you can see them right outside your window. And that's not true for many professions. I feel very lucky in that way. Plus, we had to figure it out as we went. My boss at the time, my predecessor, Laura Morris, who really led the vision for this project, you know, she and I were working together. She was a volunteer at first before she became an employee. And if we needed a website, we had to figure out how you build a website. If we needed a brand plan, we had to figure out how you build a brand plan. When we needed to raise $70 million, we had to figure out how to do that. And I find that very motivating. I really love getting to have my hands in so many different projects and different elements of our business. I really, really love running the business.
I am absolutely amazed at the professionalism of your staff. The leadership you show, the board members that are so committed at Shelby Farms Park, the philanthropists that have supported Barbara Hyde and so many other individuals. For some people who may be listening, I don't know how you can know what Shelby Farms Park Conservancy is, but can you just share with us, for people who may be listening outside the area, what is Shelby Farms Park? How many visitors, activities, assets?
Shelby Farms Park is 4,500 acres of urban parkland inside the city of Memphis. It's really unrivaled by any other park in its scope and scale in the country. And because the park is so big, it's uniquely positioned to offer a huge variety of activities, from small and intimate activities to really grand scale of activities, huge community events, solo hikes out in the middle of the forest where you feel like you're totally alone,
right?
To being together with thousands and thousands of people celebrating at a music festival or a community event. We have large-scale activities like horseback riding, mountain biking. There's a BMX track for kids. We have one of the greatest playgrounds in the world that we built in 2011. We've got more than 20 bodies of water that are available for fishing, kayaking, canoeing, stand-up paddle boards. We've got more than 40 miles of paved and unpaved trails that you can ride depending on whether you want to be an adventurer and explore a trail in the woods or you want to walk on a beautiful promenade around the lake. We've got a water playground, and I feel like I'm leaving a lot of things out, but that's sort of my point, is that there's so much to do at Shelby Farms Park. Anyone can have an adventure there. It's there for everybody. There's something for everyone to do. We also manage and operate the Shelby Farms Green Line, which is a 12-mile urban trail that was built on a former rail bed. It's a Rails to Trails project that runs from Midtown Memphis to the park and then out east to Cordova.
You're listening to the Chairman's Perspective. I'm so happy today to be talking about Shelby Farms Park. A brief history for people that don't know the history of the park and the Green Line.
Shelby Farms Park is unique in a lot of ways, and one of them is its interesting beginnings. The reason that the land exists as one fairly contiguous piece of property is because it was the home of the Shelby County Penal Farm from the late 1920s through the 1960s. And if you look at the landscapes today, in many of them you can still see the way that the farmland shaped the landscapes, the berms, the ditches, things like that. It's a very interesting history. The city was really built around the river at the time, and then over the years began to grow eastward. And so, the park was for a long time under threat of development. As the city grew, smart developers looked at the property, which was then declared surplus by the county, and thought, well, maybe this should be a housing community or a racetrack or an atom smasher or a wildlife park. Anything you could imagine was proposed, but citizens rose up and protected the park until it could be handed off to us, and we got a conservation easement for the property, and then partnered with Shelby County and the County Commission to develop a management agreement where everything belongs to the public, including the things that we've privately raised money to build. We donate it all to the county, but we manage and operate it on behalf of the county.
There's a lot of wildlife in the park. What are some of the things that people may happen across at Shelby Farms Park?
Oh gosh, really so many different animals. This time of year, you will see a ton of deer, a lot of deer in the park. We have a lot of rabbits, voles, mice, squirrels, those kinds of things, raccoons, skunks.
Do you see foxes?
Sure, we have foxes. We even have bobcats, although,
Do you really?
They're pretty good at hiding, so you don't see them too often, but I have seen one myself. There are wild turkeys in the park. There are coyote, and we have a herd of buffalo.
Wow. I've heard there's a new addition to the buffalo.
We are so excited.
Tell us about this. This is pretty cool.
This is very late in the season to have a baby buffalo, so to say it was a surprise is an understatement, but nothing makes us more excited on the staff team than when we have a newborn baby buffalo. Buffalo are such incredible animals, and we love that they're at the park and that they've become our mascot and our icon because they're such a symbol of perseverance and hardiness. The history of the buffalo in America is a fascinating topic, but that's a different podcast, I think.
Did you, I have to ask you, the buffalo are so large, did you know that you had a buffalo that was pregnant?
No, we almost never know. A couple of our rangers who have experience and training in wildlife management and who spend a lot of time with the buffalo sometimes can tell, but usually you can't. It's very difficult to even tell the difference between the boys and the girls.
Wow.
So we're so excited. The buffalo was born on the opening night of Starry Nights, our holiday night show.
Gosh.
So we have named him or her Starry.
Wow. Well, we're visiting with Jen Andrews, CEO of Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. Let's take a 30-second break, and we'll be right back with more on the Chairman's Perspective.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Hey, I'm Williams Brack, co-host of Grind Set. The insight you gain from us and our guests will motivate you to take the leap into entrepreneurship. Make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast provider.
Grind Set on the KUDZUKIAN Network. KUDZUKIAN!
I'm Mark Billingsley, host of the Chairman's Perspective, the current chairman of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, and I'm super excited today to have Jen Andrews, the CEO of Shelby Farms Park, with us. We were just talking about a baby buffalo that was born in the park, and you've named it
Starry. And if it's a girl, we'll spell it with an IE. And if it's a boy, we'll spell it with a Y, I guess.
That is so great. So, for anybody in Shelby County who's been to the park, you instantly, I think my blood pressure goes down as I drive into the park. And I've got other friends that enjoy the water features. I've had friends that have done the Go Ape, where you go across the, what is that?
Yeah, it's a treetop adventure course. There are 6 different zip lines over the Pine Lake. And then there are obstacle courses all through the treetops of the pine forest.
I've had other friends that have done yoga out there. I've had one friend that stands on her head doing yoga on top of a paddleboard.
I've seen her.
Which I cannot even imagine. So, Jen, it is an unbelievable community asset. But, you're the expert. What's the role that parks and public places happen for all of us? Why are they so critical for the infrastructure of our community?
For a long time, people thought of parks as icing on the cake, as a luxury, an extra amenity to have in communities that could afford them. Smart cities all across the country for years have been recognizing that parks and public space are a critical aspect of infrastructure, and that you should think of parks and public space as infrastructure when you're city building. Parks create more livable communities. If you polled a room of people and asked them, would you like to live next to a park? Everyone would raise their hand. Great cities have great parks. It's just that simple. And that's part of the reason that we worked on Shelby Farms Park. And parks help build economic development. Parks help big companies, like some of the local ones we have, attract and retain talent. People want to live in communities where you have great parks. They also make communities healthier. If you live near a park, you're far more likely to walk or run or exercise in that park and spend time in nature. But the thing that gets me most excited about public parks is their ability to build a sense of equity in communities. I think they're such an important part of building social bonds. People spending time for free and as equals in places that they own together, I think is so critical, especially now.
You hit on a really good point. I think if you go to Shelby Farms Park, you see such great diversity. You see intergenerational relationships. You see really young people. You see senior citizens. You see people of all colors, creeds, religions around the park. I think the environment has almost like a bonding factor for all of us. And it really doesn't seem to matter. I'm a little heavier set these days. It doesn't matter if you're a little heavier set or if you're skinny and the person that can run 30 miles, or you're just the person that can only walk halfway around the lake. It seems like no matter where you are in your health and wellness journey, there's something at Shelby Farms, because it seems, again, like I just see all levels of athletes, as well as people who may even pull the walker out of the trunk and do the walker around the lake.
Sure. Well, physical health is important, of course, but when we talk about health and wellness, we're also talking about environmental health, and we're also talking about mental and emotional health.
Yes.
Time spent in nature is really important. Parks are not just for exercise and recreation, they're for community. And I think one of the most special things about a place like Shelby Farms Park is that it brings everyone together for a diverse group of reasons, people coming to do many different kinds of things, who are in many different places in their lives. There's so many things now that divide us, economically,
Absolutely.
Racially, socially, politically.
Absolutely.
And parks are all about pulling us all back together to spend time in the same place, which is so rare. And I think that builds a deeper sense of humanity, a deeper sense of empathy, and that's really important part of building strong cities.
You're listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. I'm with Jen Andrews, CEO of the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. Jen, what a journey you've actually experienced as an employee, a leader at Shelby Farms Park. What's the vision for the future of the park?
Our vision for Shelby Farms Park is to give rise to a celebrated 21st century park that defines and shapes a great city. And that's a big, bold vision. And we set that vision in 2007, and it's still the vision that we have today. We have a master plan for the park that was developed through a public process, and we spent more than a year talking to the public, doing community outreach, To design that plan together, we engaged world-class landscape architects, James Corner Field Operations out of Manhattan. They also did the High Line in New York and a lot of other really incredible projects. So we have a world-class master plan that was developed through a deep public input process. So we have a collective vision from the community for the park. And it's a flexible plan. So, we just finished the first phase, which was about $70 million. And, as time goes on and funds become available, there's more that we want to do. A lot of the work ahead is about connectivity, trails, access, and ecosystem health.
One of the things that I know as a Shelby County Commission, we want to see more people have access to the park. I know that continues to be a challenge. It's not really necessarily the responsibility of Shelby Farms Park, but it's the role of government leaders like myself to get more access to the park. One thing we've not talked about is virtually everything at the park is free.
Yeah, and that's important to us. I'll give you an example. When we built the playground, which a playground isn't really even an adequate descriptor of that area. It's really amazing.
Much more.
It is more. That is straight expense for us. We raised the money to build it. It also costs us money every year to operate it, and it's not easy. But we never considered seriously charging people to come into the playground, because the reason that we built the playground was because we wanted every kid in Memphis to believe that they deserve public space of that caliber. We didn't want to discriminate through pricing so that it was only available to people that had the funds to come to the playground. That creates a challenge for, I think, the Conservancy and for the county. But when we formed this partnership years ago, we both committed to that. We both committed that these projects that we were going to build, these amenities we were going to create for our community, were going to create so much value that they would be worth the challenge of figuring out how to sustain them.
We've got a great show going with Jen Andrews, CEO of Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. If you'll just hold on a minute, we're going to be right back on the Chairman's Perspective.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
Jazz, America's own original musical art form. When did it start? Who were and are some of the major players? How do you distinguish what kind of jazz you're listening to? We talk about the great and lesser-known artists, songs and tunes, the instruments, and the social impact jazz has had on world culture since its beginning at the start of the 20th century.
Riffin' on jazz on the KUDZUKIAN Network. KUDZUKIAN!
Hey, this is Jen Andrews, CEO of Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. And if you want to stay in the know with all things Shelby County, then check out The Chairman's Perspective with Chairman Mark Billingsley by downloading the KUDZUKIAN app in the App Store or Google Play.
We're back on the Chairman's Perspective, and I'm really excited today to have Jen Andrews, CEO of the Shelby Farms Park Conservancy. It's been a great discussion so far. So much of the work at Shelby Farms Park doesn't happen without fundraising. I think a lot of people have the perception that government funds Shelby Farms Park. Most of us who are lay citizens say, well, our parks are provided by our city or county. You and your staff and your board provide most of the funding. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Sure. We actually are responsible for raising or earning 83% of the funds every year that it takes to operate the park, and we operate on a very tight budget. Our budget is a little over $5 million a year for 4,500 acres plus the 12 miles of the Green Line. We've got about a little under 50 full-time staff members and about that many seasonal. It is a difficult balancing act to provide excellent visitor experience and excellent park services in a world-class park, but also to make sure that we can meet our budget every year. So that requires a tremendous amount of fundraising. We also, as part of our master plan, developed a robust earned revenue program because relying solely on fundraising for 83% of your budget is pretty tricky and, in my opinion, not a good business plan.
Right.
So our event center, for example, the FedEx Event Center at the park, if you have your wedding there or a corporate event, a corporate meeting, bar mitzvah, cocktail party,
Sure.
all the kinds of life events that you would go looking for another space to rent or lease. If you have those at Shelby Farms Park, all of that money goes right back to the program, to protecting, preserving, and enhancing Shelby Farms Park.
It's amazing. You also seasonally have some really cool things going on. My kids were asking me the other day about the Gleis skating rink. And so tell me what that is at the park.
Well, we every holiday season, we have an event called Starry Nights, this year presented by International Paper. And it's a drive-through holiday light show. A few years ago, we added a holiday village to the experience so that it's more than just driving through. You come in, you can get your photos made with Santa. You can have hot chocolate and s'mores over an open fire. There's a petting zoo, camel rides. And this year, we added a really amazing element called Gleis skating. This is set up on the lawn at the visitor center where you can skate overlooking Hyde Lake. It's pretty special. This is not ice, though. It's a completely environmentally sustainable product, which is important to us. One of our team values is to be leaders in the area of sustainability and environmental conservation. The Gleis rink is made out of heat-pressed polymers, sort of a plastic.
Wow.
And it comes in big rectangles, and you piece it together like a puzzle. And it's slippery. It's not quite as slippery as ice, but almost. And then you go skating on it. And the cool thing is it takes no water or no power to operate this facility. A traditional ice skating rink it requires a tremendous amount of water and then power to keep it frozen. So we avoid that. Plus, after the 20-year life cycle of this particular rink, they'll melt it down and make another rink out of it. So there's zero waste associated with it.
Well, I've seen pictures of it, and I think some of the news stations have gotten videos of it. And it truly, Jen, really looks like an ice rink. And when you see adults and children on it, it looks like they're ice skating. And their laughter and everything else appears like they are really skating on ice.
It really does. And, we've had it open starting on noon most days, so you can actually come out to the park even if you're not at the show and skate. And I'll tell you, my office is at the visitor center, so this is really right in front of my office, and I've had so much fun watching people.
You have entertainment all day long. It's
always a great view, but particularly now.
Tell me a little bit about, you've got the Buffalo Fun Run coming up. When is that, and what's that about?
This is the Buffalo Run. It's on January 4th, so the last day of Starry Nights is on January 3rd. So we'll still have the light show up, and you're actually doing a run through the light show. And of course, we'll have some other fun activities associated with it. So just again, another way to give back to the park. Your registration fees for that run go right back to support Shelby Farms Park.
You're listening to the Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. We were talking about the Buffalo Run. We've talked about Starry Nights. I have to assume, Jen, that people come from all over for Starry Nights. If you haven't experienced Starry Nights, can you just describe for someone who hasn't been before? I think with you and I, we've been through this so many times, but if you're not from this area or on the outskirts of Shelby County, what's it like when you arrive at Starry Nights?
Well, if you come on a weekend night, you will arrive to a long line of cars.
Okay.
And if you're interested in avoiding that line, a lot of people just make it part of the experience. They
Sure.
put on the holiday music and they know that to expect that. But you can also purchase your ticket in advance and get in the back way in the park and skip the line.
Oh, that's nice.
So you can purchase your ticket through Ticketmaster. You can go to our website, shelbyfarmspark.org, and there's a link on the homepage that has all of this information in it. But when you show up, you'll drive your car to the event, and you can either buy a ticket and go through the drive-through light show, or you can go straight up to the Mistletoe Village to do your Gleis skating and have some hot chocolate and s'mores, and then go through the show. But it's more than a mile of lighted exhibits all through the park, and we change it up a little bit every year. It takes a tremendous amount of work from the park staff to pull off this event. It's got a lot of moving parts, literally and figuratively, and our park rangers are really critical in helping assemble it and put it up and take it down every year. And our retail team runs the Mistletoe Village, so we're really, really proud to produce this. It's become a Mid-South holiday tradition. People come every single year. And we're trying to make it better and better each year.
Well, it's always different, and it's open now through January the 3rd. Just real quickly, we only have 2 minutes left, but 2 fabulous restaurant opportunities now at Shelby Farms. Quickly tell us about those. I've got to come out and enjoy lunch or dinner. Tell us about those.
I am the best customer for sure, because these are at my park. But at the Visitor Center, we have a new location of Sheffy's. A lot of
Okay.
people will have been to Sheffy's before, either at High Point Terrace
Sure.
along the Green Line or their new location in Collierville. We knew that they would be perfect because they already serve our customers, people
Absolutely.
riding the Green Line. So I've really been enjoying getting my salads and sandwiches there during the
Yeah.
day. And then Coastal Fish Company at the FedEx Event Center on the edge of the lake, beautiful sunset views, excellent food, excellent service. I was just there night before last, and it was wonderful.
So you can literally enjoy a glass of wine, enjoy a delicious meal overlooking Shelby Farms Park Lake.
Yeah, never gets old.
I can't
beautiful.
imagine. Any last minute thoughts? How we've got about a minute left. How can people get more information about Starry Nights, about renting a room, about enjoying dinner? What's the website? How do we get in touch?
Our website is shelbyfarmspark.org. I'd also encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We post lots and lots of information there. And of course, come see us at the Shelby Farms Park Visitor Center. And if you have the ability, make a gift. This is an important time of year for fundraising.
It absolutely is. You've heard today that most of the support for Shelby Farms Park comes from their own fundraising. And even though it's an unbelievable public amenity, Shelby Farms Park actually raises the super majority of their budget. So at the holidays, don't forget Shelby Farms Park when you're making a gift. All of us enjoy Shelby Farms Park. It has been such a pleasure to be with you today, Jen. You've provided a wealth of information about Shelby Farms Park. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your passion. I want to thank all the staff, and we're going to be right back on the Chairman's Perspective.
The Chairman's Perspective on the KUDZUKIAN Network. The KUDZUKIAN Network presents Cities Now with Carol Coletta.
I'm Carol Coletta, host of Cities Now, a brand new show hosted here on the KUDZUKIAN Network. With Cities Now, we want to help listeners make smart decisions for their cities.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Little by little, the city is rebuilding itself with businesses such as urban farms and breweries.
We'll interview the sharpest people on the thorniest issues facing cities now.
Cities Now, part of the KUDZUKIAN Network.
This was a powerful show today, and I hope this information gave you a better understanding of Shelby Farms Park Conservancy that's making a tremendous positive difference in Shelby County for all of us. Our Shelby County government is working day in and day out to address the challenges of public safety, healthcare, economic development, and education. Organizations like Shelby Farms Park Conservancy need our help, resources, and time. Please think about supporting Shelby Farms Park Conservancy this holiday season. I also want to send a very special thank you out to all of our Shelby County employees and elected officials. They are truly some of our country's best public servants. We've had a great show, and we continue to encourage you to continue to listen to the Chairman's Perspective and the Commission in Action 2.0 by downloading the KUDZUKIAN app or by visiting your favorite podcast provider. Until next time, I'm Chairman Mark Billingsley, and you've been listening to the Chairman's Perspective, powered by the KUDZUKIAN Network. We'll see you next time.
The Chairman's Perspective Podcast. Executive producer Shelby County Commission's Chairman Mark Billingsley. Directed, produced, recorded, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.